It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
Welcome back to SportSense, everyone. Young and old, bond and free, as the scriptures say. Okay, this week is a very interesting one because two very big sports went into their playoff season, and so we'll get into that. But first, Dad, how you doing?
Doing well. It's good to hear from you. Of course, we're checking with you, and your mother keeps asking for videos and pictures. You're doing great. He's still very serious looking, but so what is today? Today is Monday. Yeah, as she says, she'll have her hands on them possibly late Friday night. But
for people who don't realize what Dad's talking about, it's because I just entered parenthood. In case you're tuning in case you skip the past couple episodes, our baby son Benson was just born 2.5 weeks ago. So,
wow.
And
we're coming out. Grandma and Grandpa from North Carolina are on our way on Friday.
Finally. So, can't wait to have you. And speaking of which, Dad maybe doesn't know it yet, but we're gonna do some in-person episodes. I'm gonna subject him to a little bit of camera time. We'll get a nice little studio set up here in my office and see if we can bust out a couple episodes.
As the old saying goes, I've got a face for radio.
I think I'd call you a silver fox. You're a handsome guy.
Oh my gosh! All right, that'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, fatherhood, parenthood is tough, but Macy and I have been finding plenty of joy in it. It's been awesome. And speaking of sports and competition, we've been watching a ton of new cooking content. We used to only watch Gordon Ramsay shows, but we've been breaking out, and there's some amazing competitions out there. And a lot of the chefs talk about it like it's a sport. You know, they're very competitive, fired up. Like it's a solo sport, but they treat it like a sport, and it's intense, and they're pouring sweat by the end of their cooks, and it's crazy. So
that's an appetizing thought, sweating all in my meal. But I sure see the commercials. That's all. I don't really watch the shows, but I've seen some commercials.
Yeah,
they look pretty crazy.
It's been inspiring me to cook, and it is so athletic and demanding what we've been watching that we might have to do an episode. You know what we should do an episode on is competitive eating. The little Joey Chestnut episode.
Yeah, we could do that. I just want you to go back to a word you just used. Now, I don't doubt. I had a little bit of restaurant experience forever ago, and it is physically taxing. But you called them athletic. Now, I guess you're right. Maybe a lot of hand-eye coordination, stamina. Being able to take true heat and pain.
Yeah.
I just never. Yeah, I know.
The way they do that is crazy.
I'm trying to think: is that athletic or is that just skill, dexterity, skill level? But
I was just about to say the word
athletic. They're not really doing flips or jumping off of one leg, slamming the ball 10 feet. I'm not seeing the athletic part, but.
And I mean, the way a lot of them look, they don't look very athletic, that's for sure. But, when you come out, I'm sure we'll have a little TV time. We'll show you what we've been watching. It's impressive.
Just don't make me watch too much.
Well, it's been inspiring me to cook. And just before this episode, I made my first ever homemade meatballs for dinner tonight. We made meatballs, some roasted potatoes, and everything was hand done except for the green beans that I got from a can. But it was pretty good. Yeah. So I'll cook for you when you're out here next week. And
meatball, what kind of sauce? What was it?
Oh, it was like a German, because I made them out of bratwurst meat. So because it was like a German thing, I did a mustard sauce that I found online. So pretty good
mustard.
But
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Good job.
Well, there's all the introductory tangential pleasantries for you all, but we are here, of course, to talk about some sporty business. And I just want to give one last little housekeeping thing. For those of you who are kind of new to podcast listening, I've mentioned it in past episodes, but I just want to really call it out because I think some people maybe, get partway through our episodes and probably are like, they're going on way too long about Rory McIlroy or, whatever it is. So if that's the case and you're still kind of interested in whatever I put in the title of the episode or whatever, click on the episode details. you might have to scroll down below the episode or something like that. And I've been putting time codes, so it's like little like numbers like 00:27 or whatever. And that just means 27 seconds. And so you can click on that with your finger and it'll take you to that exact point in the episode. So so I call those time codes. So time codes are in the episode details if you want to skip ahead to anything. But today we are talking about one main topic. So Dad, I know you said you were going to leave a lot up to me, but try to chime in here. We just had a big weekend this weekend because the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs both kicked off. So simultaneously, which I don't know if that happens every year. Is that how?
Yeah, they closely align. They sure do. Yeah.
Well, we're going to mostly talk about NHL today, and I'll explain why in a minute. But as we go along, we'll draw some comparisons to the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs because honestly, the more I researched, the more I realized they were kind of super similar. And I was almost to the point where I'm like, has basketball plagiarized hockey? Of course, but then I started going down that rabbit hole, and hockey plagiarized field hockey and polo and all these other different things, and golf. And I kind of want to do a sports history lesson one of these days too, of like a timeline of when everything was invented. And
that'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that was a big rabbit hole I didn't want to go down today. So hockey though, let's get into that. And again, a little bit of NBA tidbits here and there, but I've talked to a number of people, especially here in Utah recently, since Utah got its own franchise. The Utah Hockey Club. We'll see what they name it in a few months. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, this seems fun." And like when they hear I've already been a hockey fan for a long time, they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't know many hockey fans. Like I think I could get into it, but I don't. Like I look at it and I don't understand what the heck is going on." And so we thought we might just go through a few basic fundamental things that might help you go watch a hockey game this playoff season and maybe even enjoy it. So
let's right there before you take off.
Yeah.
Especially for these, because I'm not a huge hockey fan. Fortunately enough, in Raleigh, North Carolina, it's crazy. We picked up a hockey team, which is a whole nother story. I could get on a whole nother fun story, which I got to tell you because it might be my only contribution. In 2000 it was a year. Let's see, I went in 1999, year 2000. I had to leave my former company I've been with forever. And I had 4 or 5 states responsibility for some financial wholesaling, traveled all around, went with a new company for 4 years so I could come back to the old company as an ownership, as an agent, right? So that company was headquartered in Hartford, Connecticut, where there's lots of insurance and financial companies, right? But my very first time going up there, they had a social, right? Appetizers, drinks, and I'm always there with my Diet Coke or my water because I don't drink alcohol. So they were moving about, and I heard the president of the company was coming, and I thought that's always cool to meet the president of the company. I mean, I was a new guy, but I wasn't intimidated at all.
Hoping to snooze them a little bit.
No, just get to know, because I figure I got to put a few years here, and it was a really neat company. I like the people. Yeah, and you definitely want to get to know the brass and that sort of thing. No big deal to me. I mean, I had my 5 states. I've been at the business for a good while at that point, so I was very comfortable. But I had not worked for this group. Anyway, long story short, he's kind of a small man. He comes in. I won't name his name. He comes in as a CEO, really sharp, and he's doing his normal yakking to the new people. There's 2 or 3 of us there that were new, and having a great conversation. And wherever we met, it was part of the home office, but I saw a Hartford Whalers jersey and sweater, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned that, knowing that just a few years, just 2 or 3 years prior to that is the Hartford Whalers moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and became the Carolina Hurricanes. Cool. So I opened my mouth thinking, okay, this is cool. We're going to have a fun little conversation. I misjudged that. Should have never opened my mouth. He apparently he and his father and their grandfather had been season ticket holders for generations.
Oh no.
They had a box seat. They were family. The company was a huge sponsor of this company, of the Whalers. And he basically bit my head off and said, "You're a bunch of bums down there. I cannot believe you cherry picked our." I mean, he blistered me.
Goodness.
Like I was representing the entire Carolina Hurricane. I won't say, "Hey, listen, I'm a nothing. I hadn't even hardly been to a game. I just thought it was going to be fun conversation." I'm sitting there backpedaling as fast as I can, backpedal.
Man.
And he wouldn't let go of it. It was like a dog with a bone, man. He still had meat on the bone. He wasn't letting go of it. And so I just stood there and took it for a few minutes.
Good
And
grief.
I never saw the man again. I never had another meeting with him. Thank heavens. But he was not happy. I thought he's joking. And I thought he's being funny at first.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
where
yeah.
I got in
Razzing
deep.
you.
Yeah, I got in deeper. I said, "Oh, come, yeah." Well, you got to know the climate's so much better. I mean, I was just messing around, and boy, he's just like little guy, but his veins were popping. He's red. Woo,
Wow.
things are too sensitive still. It had been too recent, and
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so that's my story, Cooper. That's my one big hockey story. That, and I went to the opening game of the opening franchise ever. I told you, Columbus Blue Jackets, because I worked with Nationwide Insurance at that time. So I've been lucky at being in a couple spots. So anyway,
Yeah,
but
funny
that's my story.
Yeah, funny that your companies have had kind of both had strong hockey ties. That's interesting.
It's crazy. Anyway,
well,
there you go.
Well, yes,
I survived it.
And what's funny is, the franchise, the Hurricanes franchise, still really proudly they'll wear the Whalers jerseys once in a while, and a lot of fans wear them to the games and stuff.
Yeah.
Totally different color and branding and everything. I never put that together. That is from Connecticut. That's interesting.
Yep, Hartford Whalers.
Hartford Whalers. Well, good thing they changed. Good thing they got rid of that mascot because save the whales. Am I right? Can't be celebrating.
No.
Making whalers our heroes now,
and it's some sort of green color. But hopefully this guy is not around anymore to find me out.
At least not using the internet.
He's probably chilled out somewhere. He's got to be 90 by now at my age. But anyway, so goes it. So that's I've had some hockey run-ins, but it is shocking, especially back east. I mean, and in Canada, right? The hockey fans, oh my gosh. And Raleigh's crazy. But, it's big. It's big.
Super passionate bunch. Lots of legend to a lot of these teams, like heritage teams like Boston Bruins and Pittsburgh Penguins, and some of those really the Flyers. What are they? Philadelphia Flyers.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, a lot of the. I guess now that I think about it, a lot of it is in the Northeast where those teams have stayed for a long time.
That or Canada, right?
Yeah. The
Montreal,
fans are incredibly loyal. So, anyways, I mean, it brings us to a good point of getting into this playoff stuff where hockey. I wanted to start out by saying hockey is one of the oldest sports that's like currently big and celebrated and watched and talked about. Let me see my timeline. This won't be our official, sports history, invention of sports history lesson like we'll do another time. But I thought it was interesting. Ice hockey kind of was formalized in 1875. That was like the first indoor ice hockey match. It was, kind of building before that. And then the NHL, after a few different things happened over the decades, NHL was founded in 1917 in Montreal. So it's been around for a minute. By comparison, basketball was quote unquote invented around 1890, and the NBA wasn't established until 1946. So, quite a bit more recent. Just since we're kind of talking NBA and NHL today, we might throw up a few comparisons like that. But yeah, lots of generational love for teams. And so let's get into the playoff basics really quick before we get into like the basics of the game. And just so you kind of know everybody knows what's going on the next few, a couple months, I guess.
About 2.5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long season. So both this and NBA, you basically have to eliminate a team by competing in a series of 7 games, and whoever's the best of 7. So sorry, max 7 games. Tell me if it's like this in the NBA, but in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it starts with 16 hockey teams. So it's 4 rounds. So Sweet 16, they don't call it this, but 16, 8, 4, and then 2 for the
right. They call it first round, second round, conference finals, and Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Finals. That's the 4 names, if you will.
Yes. So yeah.
So
that's
so
true.
yeah, it's basically NBA is basically the same thing. They're about half their teams make the playoffs. NBA is trying to jazz it up a little bit. They have these play-in games now. They took that from the NCAA tournament, and they'll get two of the lowest seeded teams, the ones that are on the bubble, make them play each other to get into the tournament. And so, yeah, it has very similar. The difference is the NBA has shortened some of the first round. I had to go back. I think it's best of 5.
Oh,
They shortened it. Now they used to be 7, just like hockey, but from that point on, it's all 7 games. And this just shows you, I told you I haven't cared much for a few years, but I know they shortened it. I think to best of 5 in the first round just to get things going, because they have a lot of teams.
I actually wanted to ask, what's your professional sports opinion on this? Like, is that too many games for a series in a tournament like this?
I think, well, so let's talk about foundationally why you have a 7-game series anyway. And baseball, we have to throw in baseball. Baseball is the oldest, right? So baseball is a little bit before the hockey, and then the hockey, and then NBA basketball. But anyway, concept is the best, definitely gives the best team, the one that wants it the most, the one that's got the most talent and paid the biggest price, should win the best of 7, right? If it's just a 1-game sudden death, anything can happen in any sport.
Yeah.
Right. You could have a long shot winner sneak in there and win 1 game, but over 7 games, you've got to win 4. The cream generally rises to the top, and they win it.
I mean, best of 3 is like the classic.
Well, best of 5 is one where you had to win 3 games, right? That's that.
Well, yeah, but I guess I'm saying in general,
you're talking about
if you're playing rock, paper, scissors with a friend or someone, it's like, let's play best 2 out of 3. Like, why is it not just best 2 out of 3? That seems like
again, I don't think it gives enough time to. Well, number one, people want more hockey or they want more basketball, right?
Right.
And
I always forget about that. Yeah.
This day and age, the owners who make the money off the teams, they want more. You want more TV revenue. So that's really why. That's one of the reasons why you want to stretch it out. But in hockey, they've always been committed to that 7-game series and haven't thought about shortening it. And they know their diehard fans are happy that's the way it is, right?
And to be fair, at least particularly with hockey, there is a lot of pride amongst the players from the little bit of research I did before this episode, like that they want to show that they had the grit and endurance to get through that many games. So let's talk about that for a second, which is, I looked it up. It's the same. I was really surprised. It's the exact same. In NBA and NHL, you have 82 games total in the regular season, which is a crazy amount of games. And then let's say you play all the way up to like all 7 games in each and make it all the way to the Stanley Cup and win. That you've played 28 extra games on top of the 82. So 110 games total. And that's not even a full calendar year. That's like 8 months or something. So it's you're playing 2 or 3 games a week. And something with hockey where we talked about how the basketballers, flop all over the place. Hockey, you're actually getting rammed against the wall, slipping and falling on the ice, getting elbowed and punched like multiple times a week. It's crazy to get all the way to the Stanley Cup finals, that final 7-game series is an incredible feat on its own. And then to win, I saw a lot of quotes online, people saying this is the hardest trophy to win in sports. That's the claim. So they probably want to keep it long just for that.
Yeah,
too.
And many times you have to remember they don't have to play all 7 games in the series, right? They might win 4-0 or 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 4-2, something. They shorten some of it, but I agree. It is an endurance test. That's why if you look back, how it's not frequent for any sports team to win back-to-back championships, but when they do, or they're always in the championships, like Golden State Warriors, the NBA. You see how difficult it is, how tired they would have to be, because if you go that to the nth and you win, or you're in the Stanley Cup Finals, well, you're going to have a much shorter time to recover before the next season starts. Versus the Yahoo team didn't even make it into the playoffs; they had an extra 2 months rest, right? Yeah. 2.5 months rest. So it is really impressive that you have repeat performances of teams who actually get in to at least the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. It's pretty darn rare for all that. And the basketball is it's a little bit similar, but really I marveled at the Golden State Warriors run there a few years ago. They got tired. They had to start managing because you could run to the finals 4 out of 5 years or whatever they did, 5 out of 7 total years. They're playing a lot more games. They're playing a lot deeper, and time periods have shorter recovery time. So it's all fascinating. But you're right.
Yeah.
Hockey, it's part of, I think it's like the ultimate ultra marathoning of contact team sports. That's for sure.
And they face so many injuries. I mean, remarkably few injuries compared to like football or something, which is also high impact, but hockey's just there's so much impact. It's crazy. But I think there's a lot of respect between the players, even when they do fight and stuff. A lot of we've talked about it before, but there's like kind of unwritten rules agreed upon, where they take care of each other too as a league. I think
they started protecting more. It's just like football, NFL football, 60s or 70s. You can't play that kind of game today. They'd all be suspended for the year.
Yeah.
The linebackers and the cornerbacks taking the head off of the quarterback. That's all been legislated out by rules.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, let's get into some of the basic rules of hockey so that if you guys want to try watching a game this playoff season, it's very exciting, by the way. Unfortunately for you Utahns, Utah Hockey Club did not make it. Hopefully they will, and soon. But
by the way, you said exciting, Coop. That's what I forgot to say. I was mentioning this, and if you haven't watched much hockey, I cannot more strongly recommend, if you can, you've got to go see it in person. To me, of all the sports, it is the top sport that you need to be there in person to get the full feel, the sounds, seeing the puck better. TV is a little bit tougher on hockey to follow the puck, especially if you're new to it. It's hard to follow that puck with unless you're familiar with maybe how they set up and the plays they do to how they move the puck around. I still struggle sometimes, especially when slap shots come going at how fast do some of them go, 100 miles an hour or something like that. It's hard to see the puck. But I know for me, you go to a game, I mean, it's chilly in there, and there's just people are banging on the glass. I mean, you feel, and then you hear. You can't on TV. It's not near, and it's enclosed, right? So it's all kind of echoing in there. But when you hear those guys hit the walls, or that puck slaps and bounce and nails the goalie in the a pad or something. I mean, you hear that thud.
Yeah. The best sound ever is when it hits a goal post and you hear that.
Oh yeah.
Ding. Yeah.
Ding. I mean, and you think about every other sport, and I've been to all of them. That's the best live sport. Because football, honestly, I love watching on TV so many times because the replays, there's parts that have such a big field. Hockey is a smaller rink. You can see it all a lot better. Big field. I love the camera angles. I love all that. The sound, they got mics everywhere on the football field. You can see that. Baseball, it's a great one to see in person too. But honestly, on TV, you really get some nice angles, some zooms in.
Yeah.
But hockey's the number one sport of the big three, I think, to see in person, to really get a feel for it.
Yeah, I agree. It feels really, lively, and just like, it feels like you're alive just being there. It's awesome.
Even if you didn't have a team when you went in, something will trigger and you'll go, you kill those green guys. I mean, you catch yourself all wound up wanting to. And then when somebody scores, I mean, the whole world fires apart. And you know how in Carolina they crank that big siren.
The storm.
The storm and
siren.
Anyway, it's a very you can't sit there quietly and watch it like baseball or something.
Yeah. Look, I'll only disagree with you on one point, which I think I actually follow the puck easier on TV than in person at hockey games, because the cameraman knows where it's at, so they follow it. And so even if you can't see it, you kind of know the general area.
It probably depends where you
I lose it.
Yeah. Sometimes it depends where you're seated.
Yeah.
In the game. If when you're there in person.
Yeah, for someone
to
like
be able
me,
to get a good angle.
Yeah, I'm still getting nosebleeds at hockey games when I go. So it's a little hard. I need to get my binoculars out to see the puck sometimes. But so some of the rules, just really, really quick. I know over like podcast audio, it's kind of dry to talk about rules, but I just want to talk about just a couple big ones that just so you know what the heck is going on. So one of them, let's talk about checking, because that's, we've talked about all the hits and stuff this episode already, but that's one of the most exciting parts of hockey is checking. So if you don't know what I mean when I say that word, it's when basically you see a player just hit the tar out of another player. And a lot of times when people are first watching hockey that I've seen, they're like, whoa, they're allowed to do that? Holy cow.
And when you mean hitting too, it's chest up, it's head up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they maybe go a little dip, but it's not like torpedoing them at the knees or
that's
forearm to the head, even though they used to do that. But.
Right. Yeah, and then they get away with more. But yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up is there is illegal checking, but more than any other sport, maybe besides like football, maybe like you can really do a number on another player. They call it, so for example, one of the rules, for example, is the person getting hit has to possess the puck. So they have to be trying to move that puck down the ice towards the other goal. And so then one of their opponents might come and knock them, like you said, with their shoulder, their upper body kind of as a whole. There's different types of checks. There's hip checks, there's shoulder. There's, like you said, they can push a little bit or dip a little bit with their hands or their stick, but it's the ref's judgment call on whether or not that's a penalty if they use their stick a little too outwardly or too high up. So it's it's risky depending on how far you push the envelope. Because that leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is penalties. So when you get a penalty in hockey, a lot of people have heard of this. You get the team that had the penalty done against them, I don't know how to word that better, is they get what's called a power play. And so power play means the offending player from the other team gets stuck in the penalty box. So it's funny. It's like they're ostracized from the rest of their team. It's on the other side of the rink in their own isolated box. They can't talk to anyone. It's like, it's funny. It's like a little timeout for them. And so there's 2 minutes of that player being off the ice. But it's not just that player's off. It's that team is playing with one less player on the ice. So it's 4-on-5 instead of the usual 5-on-5 players. So it's a big deal. It gives the other team a really good scoring chance because
they call that a power play, right?
That's exactly. So look for that. If you hear power play, that's when your ears got to perk up because either your team's in trouble or your team has a really good chance of getting a goal for the next 2 minutes.
To ask you a question, I'll act like I'm one of our listeners. So can you have more than one in the penalty box?
That is a great question. I think you can have. I mean, I think the number is technically as many as are on the team. I think, but I mean, obviously these are professional teams, and they're not going to send all their players. They're not going to have all their players committing penalties at once. But yeah, the lowest number of players you'll see on the ice is 3-on-3, if I'm remembering it right.
Well, sometimes you'll see that, right. You have a full strength of 5 plus your goalie, and you'll see 2 guys in the box for sometimes their time overlaps, but it's like a 5-on-3, and boy, they're hustling. They want the ones who have the advantage. Obviously, you want to score. If you can't score 5-on-3, then you're not going to last too long. I don't.
Right.
It's a great advantage. But yeah, you can have that mixed in.
And so if both teams have multiple players in the penalty box, then I can't remember what they do. Like they either balance it out, like where it's 4-on-4. I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm pretty sure it can get to as low as 3-on-3 if there's just a bunch of people with penalties. Right. I don't know. I might be.
You definitely can have. I've seen it go down to 3 for sure. I've seen 5-on-3. I have seen where there's advantage.
5-on-3 for sure.
They call it a 2-man advantage or a 1-man.
Yeah. Well, 5-on-3 for sure. But if both teams have offending players, I can't remember what happens there.
I think they go just against the numbers. Makes sense. We'll look it up. But
anyways, yes, but it's something that's another exciting element of hockey. So, okay, the last thing I wanted to mention is that you'll notice at the end of a game, sometimes there's an empty net on one side of the rink, meaning what's happening there is it might be Hurricanes versus Capitals. Hurricanes are down 2-3, there's 3 minutes left in the game, and they gotta, out of desperation, do something drastic to try to tie up the game to stay in it. And so what they'll do is they'll put their goalie on the bench, leave the net totally empty, and that will allow them to put a sixth like normal skater on the ice, normal like offensive skater. And then it can be 6-on-5, and hopefully, they're skilled enough to keep that puck on the attacking end. Otherwise, let's say in that scenario, the Capitals, somebody gets their hands on a puck, they can shoot it all the way from their end of the ice, all the way towards that empty net, and get a nice free goal if they're not careful. But you might see an empty net at the end of a game when a team is desperate to get tied up. And so that's an interesting thing to look out for as well. And it's super, super anxiety inducing if it's your team with the empty net. But really,
I don't know what the odds are, but odds is pretty high that it gets scored on. I mean, it doesn't really work all the time for the one who's trying to take the risk. But like I said, it's fascinating because you hear the announcing, that they're pulling the goalie, pull the goalie.
Yeah,
goalie skating off the ice, diving over.
They always show a little picture-in-picture video of the goalie like skating really fast off the ice,
and they don't look very fast with all their gear on. But anyway,
yeah.
That's
have you seen many goalies without their gear on?
No.
Hockey goalies, so many of them are so much skinnier than you would think. Just tall and skinny. It's crazy. Just lanky.
They need that rangy. Yep. They need that rangy length.
Yeah. Sinewy, stretchy muscles. Yeah. It's crazy. Okay. Well, there's just a few things. I mean, not really rules, but just things to know about hockey as you're watching a game. There's a few things. Maybe we could do a deep dive one episode if you guys wanted, where we can talk about offsides and face-offs and those kinds of more nitty-gritty things. So
I think what'd be fun on one of why it's going to be going on for a while. I think you need to make a mark here, note that we find all the crazy traditions or crazy things the fans do. And I won't name them yet, but the things they throw on the ice. There's some weird things that get thrown on the ice.
That would be a fun episode. Okay.
So we had to look at each team, but there's some crazy ones.
Like I've seen like fish and stuff.
Yeah, don't tell the story. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's some weird stuff that we'll talk about that gets thrown on the ice, either in celebration or in when they're unhappy. But a lot of times it's celebration. All right.
Yeah.
I want to give you one stat.
So are we going into some tidbits
this here? Is one. No, just one tidbit.
Daddy tidbits.
Okay.
To show you about the health. A lot of our folks might not watch any hockey, and you might think, who watches hockey? Well, the NHL has really done a masterful job. They're not as masterful as the NFL that I talk about, how they keep them. They're in the news all year round. But the NHL has gotten pretty darn good. They seem to manage their expansion teams pretty well and really well, actually. They've done a good job. But this year, regular season attendance and this is all hockey teams, even the ones that stink, right? So it rolls up the entire league. They had a 97% capacity attendance.
Whoa. Wow. On average, just across the whole league, huh?
The whole league for the entire season.
For in-person tickets, you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
That's crazy.
So that's a very healthy league.
Yeah.
When you basically sell out every game in every city for the entire season.
That's incredible.
So,
okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. That's well, great tidbit. Wow. Well, yeah, I guess that shows that hockey's starting to just keeps increasing in popularity anyway.
Again, they haven't. I don't think as a league, they've done well. Their commissioners have not overextended themselves trying to get in certain markets that just fail completely, or the ones they have had that struggle, they move and make changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's about as good as they've done maybe in their history. So I thought that's worth noting.
Dang. Well, yeah. Well, there you go. There's some, as we say at my ad agency, sometimes there's some social proof for you guys to see that people do like hockey, and it can be captivating. So this time of year, if any, is the time to get into it. In fact, I mean, that's my favorite sport, Dad, and that's why I've talked about it so much today. But even still, I only watch a handful of games in the regular season. It's just too many to keep up with all of them.
Yeah.
But the Stanley Cup playoffs, if the Hurricanes are in it, I pretty much don't miss a game. It's just too fun.
Cool.
It's too fun. Well, I had a hockey tidbit for you, which is hockey, ice hockey, other than the Stanley Cup playoffs, specifically influenced other professional sporting leagues in one really particular way. I don't know if you realize this, but they started the tradition of playoff beards. So basically, oh, you wrote it down? Heck yeah. Okay. We were on the same brainwave. So I mean, tell me where I'm wrong, but what I was reading is that it started the Stanley Cup playoffs, classic sports superstition kind of thing. The players just started to not shave until they either won the Stanley Cup or their team got eliminated. Anyways, but
that's exactly right.
What I was reading is that other leagues have adopted that since hockey introduced it.
Yeah, there are. There are quite. I don't think they are not near as committed as hockey players. And I mean, there's some great beards. Of course, they look crazy, right? They got big beards and no teeth before they can put their teeth in. Sometimes they got teeth knocked out. And then there's some young guys that play who don't have very good beards. They grow these nappy little patches.
Scraggly little things, yeah.
I mean, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, some of them look like bums all playoff season. It's so funny.
My gosh. I know some of they've interviewed wives over the years. And some will go, oh, I love it. And some will go, I don't even get near them during this time of the year, you know. So anyway, yep. I had the same thought, but I was going to let you see if you.
No, that's awesome. Well, that's pretty much all I had for our hockey stuff today.
We'll talk next time just to keep it going. We won't spend time tonight, but we'll talk the brackets, and we'll start talking about, especially start eliminate a couple of teams when it starts really getting excited about teams. Of course, we'll keep talking about the Hurricanes, but sounds good. No, I don't have anything other than the one teaser that next week we'll definitely touch on is there's going to be the NFL draft Thursday night.
Okay.
That's big.
That's big. That's basically where they go down the line of all the top recruits and teams take turns selecting who they want, right?
And it is so crazy. Yes. But they're going to get all of them are college players, right? For football. It's not like basketball where they got overseas players and they got this is all
homegrown
because that's all they play. This is the only country that's playing like we play it. Anyway, so yeah, and it actually goes on 2 days after that. They have additional drafts, but the big nights, big presentation. ESPN. If you're interested, take a look at it. It's fascinating. If you got a home team that you kind of like that's in the NFL, you got to watch your team.
They have a lot of funny celebrities like announcing names these days too, don't they? They kind of make a big to-do of it.
Yeah. So a lot of times it used to be former players for their team or the franchise. Sometimes they'll have an owner's son or something. They've had different things. But
I saw they had some like funny gamers and streamers and stuff last year.
They've had different. They're definitely getting more creative.
Yeah.
And who they pick. They could have like a country music star who happens to have attached themselves to whatever team. Might be Tennessee Titans, right? From Nashville. And they might get somebody like that in there once in a while to announce a draft. But anyway.
Who gets first pick this Thursday?
So it's this year it is that's right. Is it Tennessee? Oh, that's a good question, Coop. Wasn't
Tennessee the worst of the league this last season?
So who is it? Let's look. So, okay. I got that right. At least I'm not losing my touch. Titans are number 1.
Good.
Okay. Then Cleveland number 2.
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing a whole list right now. New York Giants number 3.
Yep.
New England Patriots number 4. I didn't realize they were that bad.
They've had a bad 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Dang. Okay, and then we don't have to go down the rest.
No, but that gives you a flavor. But
man, Carolina's number 8 though. That's they were supposed to do better than that.
I wish they were higher because they were pretty bad. You know what they did? They screwed up and won 2 of their last 3 games at the end of the season, and they dropped from 3 or 4 to 8.
Dang it!
Everybody was wanting them to tank, and the coach said, the players said we can't do that, and they were fighting for their own jobs, and it kind of cost us. But anyway.
Yeah,
we'll stop right there.
We talked about that a while ago. How they still had, you gotta show that you're worth something.
Yep.
Kansas City and the Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles are the last 2 to pick, which makes sense because they were both in the Super Bowl. Okay.
Exactly, that's how that works.
Okay, well, then we will get into next week. I don't know what we talk about the NFL draft next week. Just
oh man,
I mean, what do you say?
They do a lot of fun. Oh, there's fun things. Well, which team? Who did they pick? Right, that's the biggest thing. Who they pick? What's it supposed to do for them? Did they need a quarterback? They didn't get a quarterback. Who made a trade on that night? Like if Carolina's number 8, but they see a guy they really wanted at number 5, who did they trade with, or 3 or 4? Did they trade with the Giants to move up, or did they move down?
Oh
man.
yeah.
It's ridiculous how much to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, that reminds me. My in-laws told me yesterday about a movie called Draft Day. Have you ever watched that? With Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's pretty good.
So for the movie fans out there, I guess there's a whole movie about this where Kevin Costner is like coach navigating all this on NFL Draft Day.
General manager. He's a general manager.
General manager.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, it's fascinating.
Might watch that just so I can see how it works.
All right.
But
okay. Remember, it is a movie on TV, but it's got some truth to it. All right, man.
A little bit dramatized. Okay.
You did good.
Well, next time we do this, we'll be in person. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube, go give it a sub, because we'll be in person and actually have a properly filmed episode or two these next couple weeks. So that'll be fun.
Sounds great.
All right. Well,
I might be holding Benson while I'm talking to you.
Yeah. We'll definitely have a baby on camera. Well, everyone, get into the hockey spirit. You got time. You got a couple months for both this and NBA. But if you're into either of those, then there you go. Now you know. If you're not into it, then I don't know. Just wait till our next episode and
play this when you need to go to sleep at night, and it'll just put you right out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, farewell, and talk to you soon.
All right. See you, Coop.
Bye.
SportSense.